Hello, today is October 14, 2019, the day after the full moon in Aries that was squaring Pluto. So we are what they call on the dark side of the moon, and for the next 2 weeks we will be rising toward a new moon in Scorpio. Normally, in ancient days and even in present times, with the farmers or people close to the land, seeds were not planted during the period between the full moon and the new moon. Things were commenced on the full moon, which is in the farmer's almanac. They will show you every new moon and full moon. And the crops were planted with the new moon because they noticed that the growth was more successful and caught on with the energy of the moon literally driving the forces more powerfully between the new moon and the full moon, and those crops seem to succeed, a greater percentage of those crops. So during this time of the full moon to the new moon, or the dark side of the moon, there's a lot of time of reflection and gathering ourselves back unto ourselves and deciding just what we're going to do at the time of the next new moon. That is, if we are living in attunement with the cycles of life. And the cycles of life is something I want to talk about today, because I feel on our earth right now that it's very much an emanation of the death force to a way of being. So whether we look at our oceans, the water element, the emotion element of water, creating a flooding and spilling over, melting of the ice caps, the power of water being experienced in a way of cleansing. Or we consider the wind and the hurricanes and the force of the wind element, which is the mental aspect of our worlds. That creating havoc and blowing away everything in its path and flattening the Bahamas and all the different things that we've seen with hurricanes and tornadoes and cyclones. Or we go to the element of earth with earthquakes and the fact of the crystallized earth element being cracked open, broken up, spewing out what has been holding inside, the eruption of the earth. The fourth element being and earth relating to the mortal form, to our body. So we have body, emotions, mind, and fire has always been related to the element of the spirit. Fire, as with the spirit, can burn out of control. It is unpredictable. It is coming, if you look at the tower card, lightning striking with fire onto the tower, and fire can literally decimate everything within its path. Giving a precedence of spirit over the other elements, of being uncontainable. So I was thinking today, even though, as we discussed in the last video, we're in October and we're still facing the Scorpio energies of Mercury and Venus right now, Venus being opposite Uranus, as we discussed in the last video, creating a upheaval of the emotional nature with the power of the lightning of the fire igniting our emotions. So a lot of people over the weekend went through a lot of suffering in the last week. A lot of people lost their pets or a loved one very suddenly, because it felt like last week an escalation of emotion on the planet. And then we looked at what was going on with the Kurds, what was going on in our government, what is going on within us, the chaos within us, the fire burning within us, the unresolved emotions, the reactivity that we're feeling right now to life itself. So then I thought of death, because obviously Scorpio is the planetary ruler, being Pluto. It rules the underworld, it rules our shadow self, and it is the bringer of death. Not necessarily a mortal death, but although it can be, but a death to a way of thinking, coming through the mind, a death to a way of feeling, of allowing our emotional reactivity to destroy everything in its wake, or to become obsessive, or to become resentful, or to become easily angry, or to push the anger down and have sort of the icy side of Pluto showing, where you kind of discard people in your wake, and you have no time for people, and you're becoming self-absorbed in your own emotions. And I thought about our Earth right now, because when I woke up this morning and I walked in the park, and I asked as I do every day, I say a prayer and I open my arms to the heavens and I say, bless me into service. Let me just be a vehicle, because it's not me here, it's me as a vehicle to assist in whatever way possible, hopefully, and to bring forth some form of awakening or solace to your heart, or gentle, merciful understanding. So I thought of this time of year as the leaves are dying on the trees, and we look around us, and we're looking around us also in our country, or perhaps in our lives, of things being pulled away from us right now. And it's like every aspect of the Constitution is going through a death process right now, as is our way of expecting how life would unfold, how our government would be, what would be secure, what would be safe. It's like things are dying, like everything feels vulnerable and fragile and exposed. And there is purpose behind the death process. And the greatest thing that, as mankind, that we can do during the death process, be it the death of a loved one that we're going through, the death of a precious animal that we have, or looking at the flowers or the trees that we love dying and dropping their petals and leaves, is we are learning at this time to understand a deeper level of what's going on the earth right now. Humanity on the earth is going through a death process to a way of how things have always been. I don't care what country you mention, are the great leadership countries that we consider to be the ones setting the tone. They're all, in some way, the structures are dissolving and crumbling. The systems are cracking wide open. The elements of how people are relating to each other is becoming more chaotic. The reason for this is our deeply rooted resistance to what is. So I wanted to digress for a moment and tell you a short story about my daughter, who passed 7 years ago. And obviously, people have ways that they relate, love, cherish, and hold on to, and do not wish to accept what is. So my daughter, being so beloved to my heart, when she discovered she had 4th stage cancer, my initial reaction was to haul out all the forces of assistance, and people came forth to help in all manner of being, and we went to the hospital for her to get radiation. It was too late for anything else. And as things progressed, and it was obvious now that she was completely bedridden, barely could use a walker, and I was looking down at her one day, and I heard a voice say, "Let her go. Let your heart accept what is." This is the greatest gift that you can give to her right now, is to free her up and to tell her from the depths of your heart, "Dearest one, you, even if I never see you again, for the life of courage and spirit that you have shown here, fly to the highest realm that you can find, because you have earned it, and forget me, let go of everything. I will be all right. Your brothers will be all right. Your animals will be all right. Let go. I give you my heart freely, and I ask you to freely choose." And we had great devotion and love to each other beyond the norm. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I looked death in the eye and realized that she was just leaving behind this extraordinarily outmoded, painful form, a being, a peace came over her, a sweetness came into the room, and it wasn't that long afterwards that she crossed. And she crossed in utter, soft, gentle sweetness, and it was truly a gift of love, unconditional love, not holding on love. Well, I bring that story up because that's what we're all going through at some level right now in our families, in our country, in our world. So we're facing the antithesis of what we want right now. We're facing opposition to everything we held dear, expectations that we had of how things would unfold that would keep us feeling safe and secure. And all of a sudden we were tossed on the sea of chaos. But the only realm to visit when you're on that ocean of chaos with gigantic tidal waves greeting you every day on the path is to dive deep into the center of your own being, where the center of the ocean is not moving at all. It is so deep and so vast and so still. And there is where you find your peace. And when you come back up, you're carrying an energy of allowing, of no resistance. It's like being in a river and the current is sweeping you away, and you turn to get away, fight that current to get back to shore. But if you just flow with that current, as terrifying as it feels, you let go and you flow with it. And you go to the deepest wells of spirit within you, and you trust that you have within you that core force of being that is speaking to you and saying, everything that is unfolding in this moment is perfectly orchestrated. Even the worst scenario in our government right now, there is a perfection to the orchestration, because it's drawing forth in people incredible deep diving, and the divisiveness is calling forth a huge desire within our soul for peace, for harmony, for union, for gentle, passionate, joyous celebration of life again, not only as one family within our family or within our friends, but within our country and within the world. So now we look around and we see all those leaves gone from the trees and all those petals. Or we see that forest fire and it's charred and black and it feels hopeless and it feels like there's just nothing that we can grasp onto that is green and vibrant and giving us hope. But that is all existing within us. And if you could see the tree beneath the surface of the earth, you would see all the revitalization and potential of what is yet to come that is existing beneath our earth. We have to stop facing our world, or this is personally, I should say, how I've gotten through it and how I've understood it, is I am seeking to ask my Holy Spirit to guide me from the wells of profound wisdom, to allow me to be like that eagle, that Scorpio eagle, to fly over the entire situation and see the chessboard and see all these pieces being moved around on the chessboard, where it feels like the king is about to be decimated by all the other men on the board. And in a way, the false king is about to be decimated. But the source of being within knows what it's doing. And there were things in each country, be it England, Germany, countries in Africa, South America, our country, United States, that were so corrupted by the obsessive focus on materialism, on success, on ego, that we had to literally create a consummate example of ego in form, to see the malignant emanation of ego when it is operating from a place of pure selfishness. We call this forth to re-examine our values. Our values have become corrupted. We hear Trump talk about looking for corruption while being surrounded by corruption and corruption eating him from within, but we can't just point the finger. He is embodying the exaggerated expression of corruption that has existed in many of us. So there has to be this death to draw forth leadership in different countries and within ourselves. Instead of looking for someone to come along and save us, we need to find that purity of intent within ourselves and our personal truth aligned with divine truth, which is not aligned with belief systems which create divisiveness, but more a universal quality of love and mercy and deep wisdom in how we move forward. So literally, I feel right now Mother Earth is shaking off the fleas off her body, and we have to go through this cleansing. It is essential, or we would just stay on this relentless path of the train, top speed, going off the tracks. So I will be looking at the next reading on the new moon in Scorpio, because that will be a profound day of sowing the seeds of our own rebirth. And I plan to have at my home a gathering for that, that we really acknowledge our own need for internal excavation in order to plant the seeds in a healthy soil, an uncontaminated soil, to plant the seeds of new beginnings, of new life. We can't give up right now, but what we are learning, and what I was learning in that death with my own child, was the letting go of placing my focus on something that had to occur, not only for her liberation, but for my growth, for my self-purification, to make me a better person, a more aware, more compassionate, more merciful. Because if you think about it, what greater act of mercy than when you look down at your little dog and you know that you must release it and take it to the vet and have it put to sleep because you love it, you don't want it to suffer. Well, right now we're looking at the suffering on our earth and the embodiment of incredible contamination of beings that need to move from the outer distraction to the inner self-purification, to revitalize and renew and pull forth the highest and best that exists within them. We all have this glowing, creative, magnificent light within us, and only we can lift the bushel off that light and find it and emanate it into the world. And as we find that light in ourselves, we start to see that light in everybody else, even someone that we would consider to be the most corrupt. So I leave you with that. I ask you if I would like to draw a soul card at this time for all of us on this earth. What is the gift from Spirit right now for the beings on this earth? I got the most exquisite card. It is the card, and two cards came out at once. The first card I got is the person that's living within angular, discordant belief systems, caught up in dejection, depression, and not comfortable in their own skin. So it's sort of humanity right now with the false goals or the false wanting. But I said, well, what is going on? What is going to come through this if people take this other route? And I got this magnificent card of divine illumination from the inner mind, the lightning striking the consciousness. And instead of operating from the conscious mind, man is going to operate from the superconscious mind. And the thing that man, woman will discover is the superconscious mind is connected to all minds, is connected to the mind of God, and will listen to divine direction, and in each moment make profound decisions that will be happy, correct, and wise. We will be guardians not only of our own soul and of our own growth and development, but we will become guardians for each other, and we'll become guardians for all that walks on this earth, all the creatures and the trees and the flowers, and we will become guardians for Blessed Mother Earth herself, and for the air and the waters, and we will create another Eden. As long as it may take, we have this capability within us, and that's what we're here to learn, is this love for all of life and for each other. I'd like to end there. If you like this video, please feel free to share it on your Facebook wall, or like it, or subscribe. If you would like a personal reading in which I go through your chart, I would love to hear from you. My email is angelicmercy44@gmail.com. And I thank you, sending you lots of love and mercy for whatever situation you're confronting right now, empathy, and may we all tap into our deep wells of divine wisdom. Thank you.